What happens when Hollywood royalty meets real royalty and neither is willing to back down? Picture this. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos are hosting their morning show when Meghan Markle arrives as their guest. What begins as a routine celebrity interview quickly spirals into live television history. The cameras are rolling, millions are watching, and no one could have predicted what would unfold next. The studio lights blazed as Kelly adjusted her notes. Glancing at Mark Consuelos, who checked his earpiece. Their show had welcomed countless celebrities, but today felt different. A sharp tension hung in the air, noticeable even to the production crew. "Welcome back to Live with Kelly and Mark," Kelly announced with her signature smile. "We have a very special guest joining us today, someone who needs no introduction, but has certainly been making headlines lately. Please welcome Meghan Markle." The audience erupted in applause as Meghan walked onto the set. Her posture was regal, her smile practiced. She wore a cream-colored blazer that caught every studio light, and her movements were precise, almost choreographed. Settling into the guest chair, she exuded the calm of someone used to being watched by millions. "Meghan, thank you so much for being here," Mark said warmly. "It's been quite a journey for you these past few years." "Thank you for having me," Meghan replied evenly. "Though I have to say, I'm a bit surprised by some of the questions I've been getting in pre-interviews. I hope we can keep things respectful here." Kelly's eyebrows rose slightly, a flicker crossing her face. "Of course. We always aim for respectful conversations. But I think our viewers appreciate honesty too." "Honesty," Meghan repeated, her tone sharpening. "That's interesting coming from a show built on celebrity gossip and morning fluff." The studio fell silent. Mark shifted in his chair. "Well, we do cover a range of topics. But speaking of honesty, you've given recent interviews with some serious allegations about your time with the royal family." Meghan's smile held, but her eyes turned cold. "Serious allegations. I shared my truth, my lived experience. Isn't that what journalism is supposed to be? Giving people a platform to tell their stories." "Absolutely," Kelly cut in. "But when those stories involve accusations against one of the world's most respected institutions, don't you think there's a responsibility to provide evidence?" "Evidence." Meghan's voice rose, her composure cracking. "You want evidence of emotional abuse, of racism. Some things can't be measured in documents and photographs, Kelly." The audience was silent. The usual morning show energy evaporated. Camera operators froze as the tension deepened. Mark leaned forward. "But Meghan, you've claimed conversations about your son's skin color, about being denied mental health support. These aren't just personal grievances. They're serious accusations that have damaged relationships and reputations." "Damaged relationships." Meghan's composure slipped further. "What about the damage done to me, to my family? Do you know what it's like to have an entire institution turn against you?" Kelly's voice stayed steady, but there was steel underneath. "I think what Mark is saying is accountability. When you make public statements that affect others, especially those who can't defend themselves, there has to be responsibility. Can't defend themselves?" Meghan shot back, standing abruptly. Her chair scraped across the floor. "The royal family has a full PR machine, centuries of tradition, unlimited resources. I had my voice, and I used it." "Sit down, please," Mark said firmly. "We're trying to have a conversation here, a conversation." Meghan laughed without humor. "This feels like an ambush. I came expecting professionalism, not this." Kelly stood as well, her hostess persona gone. "This is professionalism, real questions about real issues. If you can't handle that, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews." The words hung heavy. Meghan's face flushed, fists clenched. "How dare you question my ability to handle interviews? I've sat with Oprah, with world leaders, and told different versions of the same story each time," Mark said quietly. His words cut through the silence like a gunshot. That was the turning point. Meghan's eyes flashed dangerously. Her voice, low and controlled, was more threatening than shouting. Different versions. Are you calling me a liar on national television? The control room descended into chaos. Producers debated cutting to commercial, but the raw drama was too powerful to interrupt. Everyone knew this was television gold. Kelly stepped forward to face Meghan directly. I'm saying truth should be consistent, and yours seems to change depending on your audience. My truth doesn't change, Meghan snapped. But apparently your ability to show basic human decency does. Mark stood, trying to de-escalate, placing himself between them. Let's all take a breath. We're getting off track, but Meghan spun toward him, pointing her finger accusingly. Off track. This is exactly on track, Mark, Meghan shot back. This is what happens when people can't handle a woman speaking her truth when. They'd rather tear her down than listen. Nobody's tearing you down, Kelly said, her voice rising. We're asking legitimate questions that millions of people want answers to. Legitimate questions. Meghan's laugh was bitter. You want to know what's legitimate? The fact that I'm standing here being attacked by two people who've never faced even a fraction of the scrutiny I've endured. The audience sat frozen, some uncomfortable. Others leaning forward, riveted. This was unlike anything ever seen on daytime television. Mark's jaw tightened. Attacked. We're doing our jobs, Meghan. We're journalists, not your personal cheerleading squad. Journalists. Meghan sneered. You're entertainment hosts who got lucky with a time slot. Don't confuse yourselves with real reporters. That struck a nerve. Kelly's face flushed red, her voice turning icy. Real reporters like the ones who've been following up on your stories and finding inconsistencies. What inconsistencies? Meghan demanded, stepping closer. Name one. The tension was so heavy it felt almost visible, crackling like electricity between them. The crew got frantic signals from the control room, but nobody dared interrupt this live meltdown. Kelly's eyes narrowed as she stepped forward, her voice slicing through the silence. You want inconsistencies? Let's start with your wedding. First you said you had a private ceremony 3 days before the public one. Then, when pressed, you backtracked and called it a spiritual union. Which was it, Meghan? Meghan's face strained, then flushed hot. That's a private matter between my husband and me. Private. Kelly's voice rose. You brought it up in a globally televised interview watched by 50 million people. You don't get to claim privacy now. Mark could see this was spiraling out of control. But he also recognized gripping television when he saw it. Meghan Kelly has a point. If you're going to make public statements, they need to be accurate. Accurate according to whom? Meghan spun on him, her composure gone. According to the same institution that leaked stories about me for years. The same family that refused to protect me from racist attacks. Nobody's defending racist attacks, Kelly said firmly. But you've also made claims about your sister-in-law that multiple sources have disputed. My sister-in-law. Meghan's voice dropped dangerously quiet. You mean the woman who made me cry at my own wedding rehearsal, then let the press blame me for making her cry. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Kelly pressed. First, the story was that you made her cry. Then you flipped it and said she made you cry. Which version are we supposed to believe? Meghan's hands shook whether from rage or emotion. It wasn't clear. I told the truth about what happened. The palace spin machine created the other version. But you didn't correct it for 3 years, Mark pointed out. 3 years letting people believe something you now claim was a lie. Why? Because I was trying to protect her. Meghan shouted, her voice echoing across the studio. I was trying to be the bigger person, to follow their rule of never explain, never complain, and look where it got me. The audience gasped collectively. This was raw, unfiltered emotion, pouring out in real time. So you protected her for 3 years? Kelly countered, but then decided to throw her under the bus on international television. That doesn't sound like protection, Meghan. That sounds like revenge. Revenge. Meghan's voice cracked. You think I destroyed my relationships, my reputation, my peace of mind for revenge? You think I put my children at risk for revenge? I think you put your children at risk the moment you decided to air your family's private business on television, Kelly shot back. And I think you're still doing it every time you give another interview. The words hit Meghan like a blow. She staggered back, hand to her chest. How dare you bring my children into this? How dare you question my decisions as a mother? Mark stepped forward quickly. Nobody's questioning your abilities as a mother. But Kelly raises a valid point about privacy and protection. Valid point. Meghan whirled on him, tears now visible, but her voice still firm. You want to talk about protection? Where was the protection when I was getting death threats? When I was having suicidal thoughts and begging for help? The studio fell into stunned silence. This was no longer entertainment, this was raw human pain. Kelly's voice softened slightly, though she didn't back down. Meghan, if you were really having those thoughts, if you were truly in that much pain, then I'm sorry. But using that pain to hurt others isn't the answer. Hurt others. Meghan's voice was incredulous. I shared my experience. If that hurt people, maybe they should ask themselves why the truth is so painful for them. The truth, Mark repeated. But that's the issue, isn't it? Your truth seems to shift depending on what serves your narrative. My narrative? Meghan's jaw dropped. You think this is some calculated plan? You think I destroyed my life, left my family, gave up everything I knew for a narrative? I think you made choices, Kelly said bluntly. And now you're trying to rewrite history to make those choices seem like everyone else's. Fault. The accusation landed like an explosion. Meghan froze, staring at Kelly in shock, her mouth open, unable to speak. Now you call it courage to sit in a $75 million mansion and complain about how hard your life was in a palace. The studio audience was utterly silent, watching the meltdown unfold with a mix of fascination and horror. This was television history happening in real time. Meghan stood there, breathing heavily, fists clenched at her sides. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but laced with a cold rage stronger than any of her shouting before. You know what, Kelly? You've made your position very clear. You've decided my pain doesn't matter, my experience doesn't count. And everything I went through is somehow my fault. I've decided that actions have consequences. Kelly replied steadily. And your actions have had consequences for a lot of people besides yourself. My actions? Meghan's whisper carried across the silent studio like a threat. What about their actions? What about the racism, the lies, the complete abandonment when I needed help the most? Even if all of that is true, Mark interjected, it doesn't justify what you've done since. What I've done since. Meghan spun on him, fury reignited. You mean survive? You mean build a new life for my family? You mean refuse to be silenced? I mean exploit your connection to them for financial gain while trying to destroy their reputation. Mark said bluntly. The words hung in the air like a final accusation. Meghan stared at him, stunned, her mouth opening and closing without sound. For a moment, she looked genuinely shocked that someone had said it so directly. When she finally found her voice, it shook with emotion. Financial gain. You think I put my family through hell, gave up my home, my security, my relationships for money? I think you monetized your victimhood, Kelly said coldly. And your angry people are beginning to see through it. That was the breaking point. Meghan's face went pale, then flushed red, then pale again. Trembling with rage, she spoke in a voice barely human. How dare you? How dare you reduce everything I've been through to a business transaction? How dare you minimize my pain, my trauma, my children's safety for your entertainment? Your children's safety. Kelly's voice was sharp. You're the one who put them in the spotlight, Meghan. You're the one who keeps bringing them into this. I'm protecting them. Meghan screamed. I'm making sure they grow up knowing their mother fought back, that she didn't just accept abuse, racism, and lies. You're traumatizing them? Kelly screamed back, completely losing control. You're teaching them that family loyalty doesn't matter, that you can burn down relationships whenever things don't go your way. The two women now faced each other like fighters in a ring, both breathing hard, both beyond reason. Mark stepped between them, his voice cutting through the chaos. That's enough, both of you. That's enough. But Meghan pushed past him, getting right in Kelly's face. You don't know anything about my children or my family. You don't know what I've sacrificed or survived. I know enough, Kelly said coldly, refusing to back down. I know you're standing in my studio, on my show, attacking my professionalism because you can't handle being asked real questions. Your show. Meghan's voice was dangerous now. Your show that profits off celebrity gossip and morning fluff. Your show built on the same tabloid culture that nearly destroyed me. My show that I earned through 30 years of work, Kelly shot back. My show built on honesty and real connections with people, not manufactured drama and victim narratives. Manufactured. Meghan shook with rage. You think my trauma is manufactured? You think my children's safety is manufactured? I think your version of events is manufactured, Kelly said with deadly precision. I think you've crafted a story that makes you the hero and everyone else the villain, and you can't handle anyone questioning it. Meghan stared at her with pure hatred. The studio was so quiet the hum of the cameras could be heard. Finally, she spoke, her voice cold and controlled. You know what, Kelly? You're right about one thing. This is your show, and I don't want to be on it anymore. She turned to walk away, but Kelly's voice stopped her. Good, because you're not welcome here anymore. Meghan froze, then slowly turned back. What did you say? Kelly stepped forward, her tone decisive. I said you're not welcome on this show anymore. This interview is over. You need to leave. The audience erupted in shocked murmurs. Mark looked stunned, clearly not expecting his wife to go this far. But Kelly's jaw was set with determination. Meghan stared in disbelief. You're kicking me off your show. I'm protecting my show, Kelly said firmly. I'm protecting my audience from watching someone manipulate and attack people while playing the victim. You can leave voluntarily, or security can escort you out, for a moment. Meghan looked as if she might fight back, might escalate further. But then something broke in her. Her shoulders sagged. When she spoke, her voice was defeated. Fine, you've made your choice. But don't pretend this was about journalism or truth or protecting anyone. This was about power. And you just proved you're no different from everyone else who silenced me. She turned and walked toward the exit, heels clicking in the silence. Just before reaching the door, she turned back one last time. You know what the real tragedy is, Kelly? I actually respected you once. I thought you were different. But you're just another person who can't handle a woman who refuses to be quiet. With that, Meghan Markle walked off set, leaving behind the most explosive morning show interview in television history. Kelly stood there for a moment, breathing heavily, then turned back to the cameras. Her voice was shaky but resolute. We'll be right back after this commercial break. But everyone knew nothing would ever be the same after what they had just witnessed. The morning show landscape had been permanently altered, and the reverberations would be felt for years. The cameras finally cut away, but the damage was done. The most dramatic celebrity interview meltdown in television history was complete. and the world would be talking about it for months to come.